Welcome, everybody, to episode 23, Michael Jordan, greatest athlete of all time. So right back from the wall, right back. Anyways, episode 23 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast, where we talk about growing, scaling, exiting, entering the junk removal world. So if you are in the junk removal, waste, demolition space, or you want to get in, you've come to the right place. As always, I'm Andy Weins, joined in part by Casey Bubba Lawrence. Casey, how's Texas today?
Man, I'm looking at an awesome, beautiful, stormy sky about to just clobber me. So
I like it. I like it. Per usual, Casey's in his truck or car. He just got done moving.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about that. Well, actually, you know what, Casey? What are we talking about today?
Man, we're going to talk about relationships, I think. Forming them, why it's important to form them. But before that, I think we do a little shout out to our listeners because we've been getting some really awesome feedback. And it's not just, kissing our ass. It's actually challenging us a little bit and telling us just other views.
All right. So what are you tapping into? What are you talking about? Who are we talking to? Who are we talking about? Talk to me, Bob. Talk to me.
Yeah. So, just shout out to Cade Swallow. I don't know how you pronounce that. Sorry about you. But 3-alarm junk removal. I'm not sure where he's out of, but he's a listener. Good dude. He just pointed out a different point of view on some things that I totally agree with. So just want to say thank you to him and everybody else out there that's listening, man. Like, we really do appreciate it. We want you to, give us as much feedback as possible. We'd love to have you on. We'd love for you to ask us questions, interview us. I mean, that's what we're all about, is growing together and learning as much as we can. Knowledge is power, especially in the world of business. And that also brings us into our main subject today, and that's relationships and how to form them and why you should form them, why they're beneficial to not just business, but to your junk removal business.
Yeah, no. And that's, as much as I hate to say it, because I'm a process person, right? It's about the people, the process, and the product. And when you're talking relationships, without having the relationships, you don't have a business. And that's right. In junk removal, and that's across the board. So you and I have focused differently on relationships going into it, right? I've gone out of my way since day one to form relationships with realtors, senior living facilities, going after what I consider to be, simple targets, if you will, people that you're going to sell to or sell through. But what are the relationships you want to talk about today?
Well, I think every kind of relationship has its pros and cons, right? The minute you stop looking at someone as a right now customer and start looking at them as an asset and a team member, that's when everything changes, And what I mean by that is, whenever I meet someone, I put them into different tiers, right? My right now customers, I don't ever meet on purpose. I don't go out there trying to meet someone right now who's going to use my product right now. That's more along the lines of other types of business, I think, but especially in junk removal. If you go to a networking event and you try selling me your services, I'm probably not going to call you, not out of spite, because I'm not there to get sold, especially on a service. I'm there to meet others who I can work with, build with, and learn with. And that's when you start getting these different tiers, right? So like tier 1 for me, long-term relationship. Now, that is something you don't just do once. You meet them, you meet them, you go on a one-on-one, you get a cup of coffee, you lunch, you learn about what they do, ask questions, right? Figure out what drives them. And then you realize, while all this is happening, how can I be a part of this? And how can they be a part of what I'm doing? Now, that long-term relationship requires nurturing. Now, nurturing doesn't mean hit them up every day, but every so often, shoot them a text, shoot them an email. How's everything going? Really want to grab lunch soon, blah, blah, blah. The reason why that's important, okay, is you're forming something more than just your junk removal business. You're forming something on a personal level that they're going to remember now, and they're going to inadvertently trust you because they know you more than just, oh, this is the guy that picks up trash. This is actually a guy that I know. Talk to him regularly. He's a great guy. He likes the Cowboys. I like the Packers, whatever. We can't all be awesome. But you start forming that bond, so that's a very important thing. I mean, how many times in your experience have someone called you up out of the blue that you've probably never done business with, but you've known for years, and an opportunity comes up, and you are the recipient of that phone call?
Well, I actually sat down. Actually went out to a guy's place, local lumber only. I was looking it up real quick, locals only lumber. Anyways, this guy I went to grade school with.
Yeah,
he hit me up because he saw a post on Facebook about a week ago or 2 weeks ago when I was on the news here locally in Milwaukee, and he's like, "Hey man, I've had this problem in my yard for 2 years getting rid of this lumber. I don't know where to start. And as soon as you said the word chipping lumber from a recycling standpoint, I thought about you." Right. So now it's a business opportunity. Now, whether or not it's a right now thing, here's a guy I've known for 30 years.
Yeah.
And his father is an Olympian. He won a bronze medal back in like the 88 Olympics or some shit like that. But he's got a bunch of bike stores here in Milwaukee. So it's like they're entrepreneurs by trade. So yeah, I got a bike store. I got a junk removal company, right? This isn't like let's do business today because you're a contractor. This is like a guy that owns a bike store. And then his son, the guy I talked to today, he cuts slabs of wood and does custom iron projects for like high-end houses. Again, like we have the same target market, but we're not at the same point, right? I'm there when people are moving in, moving out. He's more creating furniture and permanent pieces within houses. But it's the fact that we've known each other for years. We're proud of Milwaukee. We don't want to put shit in the landfill. Right, we want to serve the local populace here. So now we have, interests that align, and now we might do a project. This might be a 6-figure plus project over a year's time, based on what his needs are and based on what solutions I can develop for him. And this again, Facebook post. He didn't even think about me for 15 years. He's been running some version of this company, and it was one Facebook post that made the difference. And then to your point, he hit me up and we sat down and bullshitted for an hour. Like he even said, he goes, "Hey man, we're not shaking hands and signing deals today." I was like, "Yeah, no, not at all. I just this is just take a look at the operation." I was interested to get to know about his business. We spent 10 minutes talking about the opportunity. We spent the other 50 minutes today talking about his business and what motivates him and the land development in his area because it matters to him how what his neighbors are doing, what the city's doing.
Well, that's the reason why that's so important is so a lot of us get stuck thinking transactionally, like, hey, if I talk to this person, what's my return on this conversation? Well, it depends. Are you in it to win it right then and there? Because if you are, then your return is going to be little to nothing. But if you're looking at long down the road, it's what you make it. I stopped. So this may sound like a dick move, but I stopped going up to people that are completely irrelevant to business. And what I mean by that is if someone has the job title of business developer, I'd say, who's your boss? That's what I want to talk to. Like, no offense, but you don't make decisions, but maybe your boss does. That's who I want to talk to. Managers, a lot of managers, whether it's apartment complexes or stores, managers to me are irrelevant. Hey, so can I speak to the general manager or the director or whoever? Who makes the decisions in this entity? Because it ain't you. And if it is you, then how are you just a manager? But let's talk.
Well, no, but no, because I'll argue that because I know there's some property management companies we work with, and the key decision maker, right, the gatekeeper, isn't a fucking manager. It's the guy that runs a trash room, or it's the guy that is hiring the vendors. Like,
well, sometimes.
Sometimes. If I got one to get in with a building downtown. Often what they have is they have a property management company that oversees it, but then they have a maintenance worker or two, right? They're the ones. They know all the ins and outs. Like those are my people. Those are those blue collar types. Like
they have to talk price and contracts.
Right. Well, you got to start somewhere. I would rather get the buy-in from someone that has the ear of the right person. Now we're talking two different contexts. From what I'm hearing from you, it's like if you're going to networking events or just in general, right? When I'm cold knocking on businesses, I want to know who the movers and the shakers are. And a lot of times they're the doers. Now, they know who their boss is. They can get you over to a compliance manager or fucking accounts, right? Like to get in the vendor system, whatever. So I'll challenge you on that. But this kind of moves into, well, I don't know if this is tier 2, but so tier 2, tier 1, you talk about long-term relationships, not people you're necessarily looking to sell to. non-transactional. So when you go into tier 2, is it more transactional? How many tiers are there? What are we talking here? What does tier 2 mean to you?
So tier 2 to me, I think, now this is my opinion, all right? I don't want to get criticized too much, but tier 2 for me is more of like your realtor, your broker type people that aren't necessarily going to use you right now, but you never know what next week looks like. You want to be in their pocket. I mean,
so I call those sell-through. Those are sell-throughs.
Yeah, sell-throughs.
Right, realtors, senior living, property managers. If we're going to refer you to their tenants, not hire you direct. Like they can hire you direct, but it's more important that you may not maintain on good terms with them because they're moving and shaking, and they can make the right introductions to for you to transactional customers.
Yes, and I think it's so important to have those. Now, you and I talked about this before. For me personally, realtors they weren't as successful as a business asset as you. Like you love working with realtors.
Love me some realtors.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, let's just put it this way alone. In one city that I was operating in, right, Southlake, Texas, Keller Williams has over 700 agents just out of that office. Okay. Now that sounds great. It is, but you have to look at where are they going? Where are they doing business? And if my area is right there, is it irrelevant or is it pertain to me specifically?
Okay.
Go ahead. Hold on. My wife showed up. I gotta see what she wants real quick. Okay.
Oh my God. What am I supposed to just rap on my own? Tell her to stick her head in there. Tell her to say what's up. Tell her to get on camera. She don't want to jump in.
No.
Hey, that other guy's wife from Pat's wife, Pat Boatwright, his wife jumped in. She didn't care.
I know, but we've been working all day and she's ready to go home.
Oh my God. She telling us we can't hang out no more. Are you at the old house or you're at the old house?
We're at the old house, about to leave.
Oh my God. All right. We gotta cut this thing short, or what are you doing?
No,
what are you saying? What are you telling me?
Here, give us your take on realtors. Let me see what she wants real quick.
All right. My take on realtors is I can chew up fucking air. My take on realtors is significantly different. I built my business on the referrals of realtors. When the real estate market goes up, my business does well. When the real estate market isn't doing so hot, my business doesn't do so hot. I work with Keller Williams Realtors, their national brand, and then I work with Shore West, First Weber, which are state of Wisconsin only brands. And then I work with the other big boys, the Century 21s and Remaxes and Realty Executives and Exit Realty, whatever. I'm sure I'm missing other realtor companies and they'll bitch about it.
20 seconds.
But what's that?
I got to move something. Hold on. Just keep going. 20 seconds.
I'll just keep rapping. Fine. This is for the listeners because Casey's not fucking paying attention.
Are you bumping into them at the networking events or like walking into their office?
No, now Taylor's jumping in because he's like, hey, Casey's not doing shit. He'll talk to me. No, I meet realtors everywhere. Yeah, there's a realtor at every networking event. If you go to a BNI event, there's a realtor at every BNI at Business Networkers International. I don't like BNIs. Personally, we can talk about that if people want to hear about why I don't like BNI. But I cold knock them. I walk right into real estate offices and I'm like, hey, I'm the junk removal guy. In order for you to sell a house, it can't have stuff in it. Or if you want to buy a house, it can't have stuff in it. So we have a mutually aligned, mutually beneficial solution, which is you sell the house. I want you to sell the house. Stuff has to be gone. It's that simple. And with realtors, they're also at that point in their business where something significant is happening. So when I look at our business, 40% of the time we're getting into people's houses, it has to do with real estate. So 40% of our projects on a per project base are revolved around real estate. They're buying or selling, ready to list, already closed. 40% of our projects are life events, as in someone's moving in, someone's moving out. We got new furniture. We're getting rid of old stuff, right? There's something happening within their lives that's significant. And the other 20% is, it's just time. Like this stuff's been sitting around. Or also life events like we're getting our hardwood floors refinished. We're doing a remodel, right? There's something going on. So if that's the case, realtors are the sweetest of sweet spot. 40% of my transaction revolve in the real estate market. And your realtor is your number one trusted source. Typically, like in Casey, you talked about this realtors in the past, you're buying and selling from someone that you know, someone that you trust. So and the home selling process is not a 5-day process. It's 90, 120 days from I want to sell my house to closed, right? It takes time. So they're going to develop trust and rapport with this person. So you only come in once or twice during that 120-day period, but you get vouched for. Now, the challenge or opportunity with realtors is they are loyal until they're not. Realtors love you, and they will call you last minute, and you're going to be their guy 100%. But the second you think about saying no to one realtor, you might as well say no to every realtor that they've ever talked to and will talk to for the next 6 months. Because they know people and they influence people.
Yeah, and you have to also understand what realtor you're doing stuff with. Like, so right now, in the year 2022, I think 50% of America's population is a fucking realtor now.
There's a lot of realtors. A lot of people got into it. A lot of people got into real estate during the pandemic. And what I've heard from realtors is, easy in, easy out. So as they come in, they sold, half a dozen houses their first year to like their closest associates. Now, interest rates are going up. There's not as many houses. Money's getting tight.
Yeah.
Anyways, now we're getting on a whole tangent about realtors.
No, but so the reason why realtors are important, but the reason why they're not tier one for me, because they're not long term as much as they are more of a midterm. Like, hey, with a realtor like the one I use, Jake's a really good friend of mine. He's a vet. He's in my veterans group. I talk to him weekly. Weekly. But he's like me in the sense where he tested me out, and then he's like, cool. Did I give him a break? Well, yeah, he's a buddy of mine. But he wanted to see how the business worked and if it was convenient for him. Because the one thing I could tell you why he is so good at what he does, he makes it damn near hands completely off for his client. So he's like, look, I will take care of everything. And sometimes that means he has to float the check. So when, hey, man, look, this buyer really, really wants this property, but there's a pile of shit next door. The seller doesn't want to take care of it. So you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet on this because I'm going to make this happen. And a lot of times you'll get realtors that they use that excuse and they try to get you down to like damn near nothing. And you're I still have to make money too, I mean, here's
the problem with there's an absolute problem with realtors. And I know I had this conversation at an office last week with a sales manager. She asked me, she's like, all right, what real estate companies do you like working with? Which ones you don't like working with? Because I said, not all realtors are the same. Every brand has a little cultural difference. Every site has a cultural difference. And yes, there are some brands and also some offices in some areas that work well with me and some that don't. The challenge is, and you got a bad taste in your mouth, and I know of other people that have, the challenge is when you're first starting out in business, if you're the discount guy or discount girl with the realtor, you'll always be. You will never get upgraded, right? If you're the last minute guy or last minute girl that always say yes, you're always going to be that, right? I got a realtor. I'll give a shout out. His name is Jeff Lean. He was one of the first people that ever gave me a chance. Also, one year I remember he called me on January 2nd, at like 6:00 in the morning. He's like, "Hey, I got a closing today. I got a basketball hoop that's got to go." I'm like, all right, I'll take care of it, Jeff. Right? Like that joked he was the first phone call of the year that year. So you whatever you establish with them, it normally doesn't get better, right? Like, so if you want to be known as the discount person, go for it. Yeah. But if you want to be known as the reliable, right? Again, it's cheap, faster, good. So I'm not knocking it. I see plenty of people on junk removal forums that are like, they want to be the lowest price guy all the time. What's the cheapest they can get it for, right? And again, you've talked about this several times. It's a race to the bottom. I don't want to be in that business. The race to the bottom business does not allow you the profit to reinvest in the organization so that you get out of the truck eventually. Same with, let's go tier 3, because I have a pretty good idea of where you're going, right? Tier 3 relationships are right now relationships. Is that fair to say? It is transactional. You got X, I got Y solution. Put them together and make the thing go right. And there's a number of dollars associated with that. Yeah. Right. That's where you make your money. Right. Yeah. But those are transactional. And that's a challenge I see a lot of times with these guys online. and myself included when I first started, it's like you only put time and effort into tier 3, which was
that's also,
let's turn and burn jobs.
Well, tier 3 is also where a lot of desperation hits, right? You ever get that slow point and you're just like, fuck. And then you get on Facebook, you're like, I can do this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, cool. But why weren't you doing that last week, or week before that? Oh, it's because you're slow, you're dead. Now you need some shit to happen. Imagine if you kept that hustle even when you were busy. Now, I know you can't be at 2 places at one time, but the cool thing about tier 3s are you can get them while you work. Hell, I'm not even kidding. We've had, when one of my guys would go to a house for a job, the first thing I tell them to do is put a yard sign in the house you're doing a job at. If that customer wants it gone at the end of the day or in the job, cool. But also, if it's a half trailer, right, and it's not that big of a deal, they actually were taught, one guy, door hangers. Go knock out 10, 20 houses real quick. That way, when you're done, y'all book it. Now, you just marketed that same street. The people just saw you down doing the jobs at. Now, that's a very transactional approach. At the same time, have your neighbors or have your client's neighbors involved. You know, say, hey, you think your neighbor would be okay if I put a sign? Do you know him? Oh, you do? Well, here's a sign. You ask him if I could put it in his yard, whatever. Because that drums up business. You know, they start talking and they start getting curious and, oh, camo crew this. And it just spurs up business. Remember, you can't go into it thinking everybody's going to be that big ass job, right?
Nope.
I've done more minimums than I ever wanted to do. But the cool thing about minimums, there's two things. I can do a shit ton of minimums in a trailer. Oh, yeah. And it puts my people out and about the community. That's where your tier 3s are. They're in the community. But, you know, the cool thing is, so are your tier 2s and tier 1s. They're all there.
Great. And the question is, what is the investment on the front end that you as the owner are taking in these relationships? I love meeting our clients. I'll stop by job sites with our guys and say what's up to them. But most times, I'm not interfacing with a residential client. There's nothing. Not that I don't want to. It's just they see the truck, they see the post on Facebook, they call the phone, we set up a half trailer, full trailer, whatever it is, we go bang it out. That's it. You know, but now my involvement, my investment was in the marketing. It was involved in getting out there and putting out content and being vulnerable or whatever, right? And talk about my story or my business, right? And then people resonate with that. There's people that come up to me and they're like, hey, you don't know who I am, but I use your service and I love your guys. And I'm like, right?
Sweet.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Like, what else? Right. Then it's like, you know, obviously I'll always ask them what's going on. You know, what about the experience was good? You know, what they appreciated, what do we need to do different possibly? And most times it's, you know, overwhelmingly positive feedback. And I always leave it, you know, thank them obviously for their job, but always, hey, well, who else do you know that would love to experience what you experienced? Yeah. Because there's never a time where we don't want more work, right? The challenge with marketing, we're shifting gears here a little bit about relationships and marketing though, is right, there's never the right time, right? And when there's never the right time, that means it's always the right time. Because with marketing, it's like when your phone's ringing and you've got a lot of projects, the last thing you're thinking about is marketing. When the phone's not ringing, the last thing you're thinking about is spending money doing something that may or may not work. But when you're not consistent, this summer we cut down. We cut down because we're looking for employees. We shifted dollars that would have been towards marketing and put it towards recruiting. And then our phone dried up 2-3 weeks later. It was like cause and effect. Instead of spending more money to recruit employees, we shifted dollars and
guess
what? Guess what? We got employees and then our phones were not great for a week or so.
You want to hear something really crazy? So your tier 3 customers. So first of all, let me preface this by all my biggest jobs have been tier 1 clients, long term, the biggest ones. Okay. But my tier 3s are the ones that leave reviews. They're the ones that talk. They're the ones that tell their neighbors. They're the ones that drive your business. So what we're saying is don't go and pick and choose. You need to cover all 3 of these tiers, but you also have to recognize the differences of them. So like now I can call a tier 1. She works for Hillwood Communities, right? $1 billion company. Ross Pro Jr. owns it, whatever. Her name is Renee. Awesome lady. and I can call her right now and say, hey, let's get lunch. I almost guarantee, there's not going to be business just waiting for me. Oh, yeah, here you go.
No. Oh, hey, I forgot about you. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It's going to be a lunch that she's, you know what? Shit. I just had lunch with Casey. I really need this done, blah, blah, blah. We have something in the works, blah, whatever. Communities, we're building houses, 1,000 of them, no big deal. But then if you go on Facebook, you go on Google, look at your reviews. Those are tier 3s all day long.
All day.
Those are the people that get the CRM, get the emails. Hey, happy Thanksgiving. Family's coming over. Want us to come out, clear out your shit. We'll take turkey as a tip. No big deal, but
we'll take turkey. Hey, there we go. Taylor, before we forget, we'll take turkey as a tip. Building relationships and junk removal. There's your title.
It's all about the leftovers on Thanksgiving, dude. Shit.
I had the states up. Yeah. I'll look at some of the titles. I was just looking at some of the titles of our episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor's got some work to do, to be honest.
But, I will say,
they got to be a little
the biggest jobs I've done haven't been because people searched on Google. They go with their personal, the personal knowledge. Who do I know that I trust or whatnot, And the biggest job I ever did to date was for Hillwood. How they got my information was strictly through networking and nurturing, and just keeping up with the people,
Yeah.
And that return on my investment was amazing because from the moment I met this realtor and then her boss, and then they live next door to this person who who works at Hillwood. And then that person reached out to me. I started talking to that person, 2 years, I think it was 2 years. And it was the biggest job I've ever done, but it's worth it, right?
So we covered the relationships, right? So let's talk for what
lost you.
You lost me? I'm fucking right here.
There you go. You froze. We covered the relationship.
I said, okay, we covered the relationships. So let's talk about what strategies do you do or go out of your way to go into, right? To develop these relationships, whether you're newer in the business. We talk to people, go to the Chamber of Commerce. That was one of the biggest issues we had, the franchise. They're like, go to the Chamber of Commerce. They'll solve all your problems. It's like, no, they fucking don't. When you stepped out for a second there and I was in this room talking to Taylor, I was talking about how much I hate BNIs.
Oh my gosh. Look, we're not saying they don't work. I
didn't say that.
Some work awesome, but you know what? It's a very clicky, culty feel sometimes.
Oh, it's super culty. Yeah, the issue I have, correct. Here's the number one issue I have with BNIs, and I'm not looking for sponsorship or endorsement from them, and they've got thousands of dollars from me because at one point I had 10 plus franchises, at least one BNI, per franchise, and then when I got out of the franchise world, I didn't do it, and when I got back into junk removal, I didn't get back to it. BNI. Here's my issue with BNIs, and it's simple business issue, is that if I'm in a BNI with somebody else and I don't believe in their product or service, I'm not going to refer them. Yeah. And that's anti the BNI Bible.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I don't want people to refer me if they don't believe that I'm the best person for the job. That was the issue I had with BNI. There were some good things about it. Like the structure was good. I didn't mind the commitment. A lot of people are like, the commitment, BNIs meet weekly. I didn't have any issues with that. What are you doing? Playing Christmas music over there? What's the matter with you? Your wife calling you again? Jesus.
Oh, spam. The old spam.
The old spammer.
Look, BNIs are great until they're not. And that's the thing. They work until you have one conflicting subject, whether that be, hey, I have a plumber that I've known for years and I love this guy.
Yeah, you don't want to be correct. You don't, if I'm going to put my hand on a fucking piece of paper and say I'm going to uphold this oath, I mean it. And I've met some great people and great relationships in BNIs. A lot of tier 2 types of people, if you will, people that use, I guess I look at what you were saying, tier 2. They're really like your vendors. You're buying and selling similar product or service lines as they are to the same customers, and you both complement each other when you have mutually beneficial projects you can do, right? Like I look at those all day as your vendors, and we do great with vendor referrals. And what I was getting at was, where do you meet them? Most of them is through networking. That's where I meet, and often people from the tier 2 category turn into tier 1 over time. At least that's been my case, where it's like, yeah, at first you work together, but now you genuinely are looking at bigger projects together, or you hit each other up, or you get lunch. I'm a lunch guy. I just actually shot some content the other day. Like, I fucking love lunch, right? So my process has been simple. It is go to networking events. Let's hillbilly math. There's going to be 20 people at the networking event, right? 20 people the first time you walk in. When I walk in with camel pants, it's a beautiful thing you see. You get the look. And I've heard about this, not just with camel pants, but people that are more blue-collar industry, where half the people in this networking event want nothing to do with you because they can't sell you something that day.
Right.
Right? Because whatever, you judge a book by its cover. It is what it is. Fine. Or because it's your first event and they've seen 1,000 people like you come to one event and they never met them again. Fine. So you walk in. Or they're looking for tier 3s. They're looking for transactional salespeople that are fucking transactional as hell. All right. So the next thing. So of the 20 people, 10 of them in there might want something to do with you. Mm-hmm. My goal when I leave a networking event is to leave with 3 actionable items. That's it. Now, perfect world, I got a customer, I got a sell-through, and I got a lunch. That's it. Yeah. Perfect deal is, and that's not crazy. That's not crazy to think out of 20 people in a room, one of them needs junk removal, one of them knows someone that needs junk removal, and one of them is cool enough to be like, yeah, I'd spend an hour with them getting lunch. I built my business on getting lunch with people. I was booking lunch out 3-4 weeks out, going to lunch 4 days a week. So I'm averaging 15, 17 lunches a week. A month, 15, 17 lunches a month, because that was my play. It was a simple play. It worked for me. I love lunch. I don't like to do coffee. I sure as hell don't like to do video calls or Zoom calls. If I'm getting to know somebody, I'm not going to sit there for an hour and just talk to somebody. I've spent hundreds of hours talking to your ass, so it's no big deal now that we do the podcast.
But it's because you're not looking at it as dollar and cents. You're looking at the value, right? Like you're not saying, "Oh, what's my dollar amount return on meeting this person?" No, you're saying, "No, what's the value of making this connection?" Right?
Well, when I first started, all I looked at was tier 3. I remember the first time I was telling someone this story the other day. First time I went to a networking event, it was a breakfast in the Menominee Falls Chamber. I went there. I had fresh business cards. I mean, they still smelled nice. Business cards, when you first get them, especially the glossy ones, they remind me of the smell of basketball cards. Because I used to collect basketball cards back in the 90s when the NBA was still good. Anyways, I love that smell. Anyways, I went around the networking event. I put a business card at every single person's spot where they sat down for breakfast. And I was like, yeah, I got it. That's all you got to do. You got to show up, hand out business cards. And then one of my now mentors came up to me. He's like, hey, dummy. That's not how this works. You have to get to know people. You have to invest your time in their business. And I'm like, this is stupid. Well, I just want to haul junk. I was only looking for tier 3s.
So the most common thing to feel, especially in the beginning, when you go into these networking events, you're like, well, shit, they're not ever going to need me, or they're not ever going to use me. Well, here's the cool thing. Don't fucking sell them on what you're doing. No. Sell them on you. Why are you doing it? Tell them why you're doing it.
Exactly. Why?
You have to form that relationship because, for one, they may not be your customer, but their dad may be, or their mom, or their whoever. And that's the thing is when you go into those networking meetings, we all make the same mistakes at first. And I'll tell you, the cool thing is you're not, this is going to sound bad again, whatever. But whenever I meet anybody in real estate or insurance, it's always the exact same thing. Hey, my name is so-and-so. Hey, look, if anybody here is looking for or to sell their house or buy a house or know someone that's going to sell, like, we got it, cool, appreciate it. Every single time. Now, as a junk removal person, you can do, hey, if anybody you know needs junk removal, cool, do that. But that's transactional as fuck.
Yep.
Now, I say, hey, look, my name is Casey. This is what I do. If it's an intro, I keep it simple. This is who I am. This is what I do. We're going to talk more about me and you on a one-on-one level or when we actually break for networking. But yeah, dude, it's so funny how similar it is. Like, we could probably talk to anybody in this industry who's past year 4 and say, hey, what was the year 1 like whenever you're trying to get jobs? Oh, yeah, it was this.
It's all you didn't even know there was tiers. I've never looked at them as tiers. I look at them as customers, vendors, and then I look at I'll break it down different. Here are my 3 tiers. It's the same tiers, but I look at them in 3 different categories. And of the 4 people that matter to you in the world, they fall in the 3 they cover 3 of the 4 categories, right? So there's only 4 people in the world that matter to you in your business, right? Here they are: customers, vendors, employees, and investors. That's it. Those are the 4 groups of people. So I'm going to take their tiers and break it down a little bit from the bottom up. So tier 3, customers. They matter. That's it. They matter. Yeah. So it's transactional, but they're the ones that keep the lights on. They keep the reviews coming. They refer you to other people.
They're the engine.
And you need them. They are the end. They're the base, right? Second piece, vendors. I look at subcontractors, whether it's, electricians, plumbers, right? They hire us to refer us because they need to be able to get at the stuff. Realtors, they got to be able to sell it. Property managers, because they got to be able to get a new tenant in, right? They're fellow vendors. Sometimes they hire us, but most times they're hiring through, right? They're setting it up. We're going to bill somebody else. Or they're going to take the bill. They're going to figure it out. Sometimes they hire us straight up. Like senior living, often they'll be like, hey, we got, all these TVs that we're going to need to get rid of because last 2 years we've been letting people put TVs in the trash room and now we can't get at the trash cans. Got it.
Yeah.
Right? And then your third category, those are your investors.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about investment, talked about it on this program before, it's not money necessarily. It's people that invest their time, their money, or their effort. And what I mean by effort is they sit down and talk to you and teach you stuff. That's important. And same token, you invest in them and their business and their why, and now you've transcended a transactional relationship, right? And now you have equal stake in making the business community in your area better. And now you can't just live up there. There's some people that have all these, they turn them into friends, right? No. Yeah. These are people you're friendly with. They're not friends. It's that simple. You can do business together. You do all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, you have a mutually beneficial initiative, which is to make the business community in your area better. That's it. The challenge I've seen is some people spend all their time up here, and it's like, oh yeah, everyone knows them and they're friendly and they're nice people, but they're not referring them and they're not doing business with them. That's a problem, right? I got a good buddy I went to lunch with a couple weeks ago, right? Because he's that tier 1 person to me. He's a financial advisor, and he took one of my classes I teach about sales, and he goes, what I realize is, because I'm like everyone's best friend, but no one buys from me or refers me. It's like, yeah, because you have all these people. You have all these people that invest their time with you. I was getting lunch with him, right? I got a Reuben. Also, total side note. Hold on. You're a pastor. Whatever. I got to talk about this sandwich real quick. So it was a Reuben, which is one of my favorite sandwich, right? Not sliced. None of the sliced BS. Give me the chunky corned beef, right? So corned beef, I go yellow mustard, sauerkraut, toasted rye, hard toast. I want a flat iron. Anyways, this restaurant I went to, they're a barbecue restaurant. So one day a week they do barbecue, or they do smoked corned beef. I was like, this is gonna be great, right? So it's brisket, which is how you make corned beef, and then they whatever. It was terrible, Casey. I gotta tell you, it was terrible. You either corn it or you smoke it. You can't corn the smoke.
No.
So there you go. Don't do both. I love corned beef. I love brisket. I know. I saw your shirt. Yeah. Every time I talk to Casey, so for the listeners that see us on social media or reach out to us, like hit us up, whatever. It's all good. I love getting emails or text messages, or Facebook messages, whatever. Almost every time I talk to Casey, he's eating. And it's either barbecue or it's tacos. Like he's ultimate Tex-Mex. So if you hit up Casey, he's like, hey, I'll get back to you. He's probably got a beard full of cilantro.
No, a beard full like chorizo.
Or chorizo.
Cheese, barbecue sauce.
I got to come down, and I think I'll come down in January for a couple days and just to eat and eat tacos. So, yeah, there you go. If anybody, any of our listeners are in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and you want Casey and I come bang jobs with you for the day, we'll come bang jobs. Yeah, that's actually not a bad proposition. I'll go bang jobs for a day. I love fucking banging jobs. Not like 5 days a week, but I like banging jobs with new people and new challenges. Here's my only condition. Here's my condition. I will come bang jobs with you. My condition is You take me to somewhere fucking amazing for lunch.
Yes.
Not Whataburger, not a chain. And Whataburger is not amazing. It's not. In-N-Out's where it's at. In-N-Out is where it's at. It ain't that good. So two things, right? One, you got to take me out. I don't care who pays, but take me to an amazing spot for lunch. Two, take me to a scrapyard I'm going to like. And by scrapyard I'm going to like is the only scrapyards I don't like are the ones that like take only aluminum cans because that's not interesting. That's it. Because I want to go pick around the pile. I want to fart around. I want to look at prices. I want to talk to random people. I want to meet people that are coming out of the scrapyard because I love scrapyards.
Dude, the best scrapyards down here are not the most organized. They're the ones that are like...
No, those are the best ones. Yeah.
Dude, like they don't have one down here. It's in Springtown. For all you listeners down in Texas, Springtown has some of the best scrapyards because they're all on the same highway, and usually they bounce around like the workers do.
They're all mom and pops. They all work for each other. Oh, yeah.
Dude, the machines are like you look at these machines, you're like, there's no way they run. And then you're like, no way. There's no way they operate that. And then you're like, how many people have died doing this?
Great. You're like Ocean called. They said no to all of this. Oh yeah. I just thought about this, Casey. You've never taken me to a scrapyard.
I have
all the times I've come down, I haven't. You don't have an aversion to scrapyard. I took you out for wings, and you got blueberry buffalo, even real wings. Yeah, blueberry barbecue. Spitfires on State Street in Milwaukee. Yes. Best wings in Milwaukee.
Oh, dude.
And I'm going to tell this right now to all of our listeners. Casey might look like this badass military. I got fucking barbecue T-shirt and a beard. He eats chicken. You take this guy out for wings, you know what he gets? Chicken nuggets.
Hell yeah.
He gets boneless, soft. And on top of it, won't even have a beer. He'll get a passion fruit margarita.
Oh yeah,
from the Cheesecake Factory. That's his go-to.
I stand strong behind that.
my girlfriend, the first time she met Casey, she's like, she had these badass dudes. He's sitting there ordering the froofiest of froofy drinks.
Yes,
tummy makes. He's like, beer makes my tummy hurt.
I was like, shaken, not stirred. Thank you.
Shaken, not stirred. Do you know who I am? What is this? The Cheesecake Factory? Where's your passion fruit?
I went to a scrapyard up there with Ike, and it was a small. They knew him. I'm sure you've been there.
Oh yeah, you've been there. United. There's not even there. United on 84th and Call. I grew up there basically. That was my scrapyard.
It was like old school, small. Like it had a few outdoors, but like the indoor was like, I'm gonna die, but I didn't.
Oh yeah, it's one of those. They're running a forklift in an area you can barely walk through, and they're zipping it. One fork. Oh yeah, boom boom. Oh my god, that gets me excited. Actually, I'm in the middle of writing my book. Words fucking matter. Use language that serves you. And in one of my chapters, I talk about going to the scrapyard as a kid because that was my happy place.
Yeah,
like I grew up not like normal or whatever regular ass folks. Where Saturday mornings we went to the scrapyard. That's what we did on Saturday mornings, and I could not be more appreciative now of my father for taking me to scrapyards. Where do we start? Oh, we started this conversation with relationships. Oh, yeah, that was talking about that guy. Yeah, so the guy's name is Alan. No one's going to know who he is. Alan. Great dude. But because he's a tier 1 relationship, right? He's someone I invest my time in. I've never done transactions with him. Now, on the flip side, he's hired me, but I've never hired him, and I've never referred him. So he's worked with me on all tiers, right? I removed a hot tub from a house he had. Yeah. I know he's referred me to some of his clients. Because that's another one. Financial advisors are actually pretty good referrals. They're not like your best referrals, but they're pretty good because they work with people that they're going through probate or wills or buying or selling houses. So put that on your list. But yeah, his challenge is he has too many, his words, not mine, too many relationships where he's friends with people, but he's not doing work with them. Because at the end of the day, kid you not, you're still in business.
Yeah.
So that's what you were talking about before. You need all 3 tiers, and you need to invest time and money to get all 3. Right? You're going to get. Well, go ahead.
But understand, you personally don't have to do every single tier yourself. Right?
Like tier 3. That's what the marketing. That's what our marketing initiatives are for. That's what social media is for. Our operations people.
Your operations manager. Hey, what are you doing today? Oh, I don't have anything planned. Perfect. You know what you're going to do? You're going to go out there and bang doors and introduce yourself and your company. And you're I had guys yesterday doing door hangers. The weather was great. They had a big gap.
right? And they went door hanger. And if our employees meet people on the spot, there's times we do it on the spot, right? So it's not chewing up my time. And then my focus, our general manager, he focuses on the tier 2. So he's going into property management companies, storage units. Storage units are great, right? Because people are moving in and out, right? Again, that's that life event thing. Sometimes on real estate, or sometimes people are moving stuff because they're getting hardwood floors refinished or remodel, right? And then my challenge or my opportunity is to focus on those tier 1 relationships. And that's even what this podcast is about, right? We're talking to other people in the junk removal industry. I got a couple speaking gigs. I'm speaking at the E-Waste convention in New Orleans in September, and I'm speaking at JunkCon in Raleigh. Not a shameless plug. I think I've talked about it before, but JunkCon in Raleigh, North Carolina in October. I'm talking about scrap, right? Talking about what you know and love. I'm talking about scrap. Are you coming? Have you decided you've made it official? Nice. All right, there you go. So actually, here's the deal. If you want to hang out with Casey and I, 2 shameless plugs, that's not in Texas or Wisconsin, 2 of my favorite places, either North Carolina or Vegas. Yeah. Casey and I will both be going to JunkCon, put on by JRA in Raleigh, North Carolina, whatever those dates are. It's October something. I'll look it up right now just so I can. October 12th sounds about right, 12th through the 14th. Yeah. And then we are also going, 12th through the 14th. And then we are going 2 weeks later, we're going to be at the Military Influencer Conference in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada, the 26th through the 29th, give or take. I have it written down there. 26th, 29th of October. So if anyone wants to come hang out with us, if you're ever in Milwaukee or the Midwest, or you want to make a point to come up here, I used to train franchisees here at our site, and I love having visitors. Casey's come up here and learn from our team, just like I've gone down to Texas and learned from his team, but he doesn't have a shop anymore, so I don't know where we're going to hang out when we come down by you. We'll just hang on a job site all day. Job site and Whataburger. What's that?
Taco stands.
Yeah, that's what I say. Taco. Yeah. Oh man, dude, when we went,
you'll love it here because outside of every scrapyard down the street,
there's a taco stand.
There's a taco stand or a trailer that's a food truck.
Remember that taco? So remember that project we did in, was it Stockton, California? Was that the one that had the taco truck? So we're doing this project in the middle of an industrial park.
Oysters.
There was 4. Oh no, that was that one. No, there was the other one. There was a taco truck that was in the industrial park.
Yes.
What's his face? What's that guy's name that's from Texas that flew out there with us? Why can't I think of his name? Justin went out and got us those breakfast tacos that morning. Was it you that went out? Someone went out at 8:00 in the morning.
That was LA.
Breakfast taco. Was it breakfast tacos? Was it down? No, it was Stockton. It was Stockton.
Okay, yeah. It was.
Breakfast tacos.
Yeah.
And we're working out in like 95-degree heat. I don't know if like my guts were just churning over.
Oh man, good time.
Right. That one, right. When we left LA, we stopped at 2:00 in the afternoon to get tacos. We had a 5-hour drive, and we got. I think they gave us free cervezas that day. They're like, "You had a 5-hour drive, and we had like 10 hours in because we got what we got. I think we got to the job site like 4:00 in the morning or 4:30 because we were like, we have to leave at noon. I was an asshole that week. I was like, we gotta leave. Gotta happen. And we got those tacos. They give us a beer to calm me down. And still didn't fucking calm me down. But yeah, those were, oh my God, there's so many good taco stands when you were with Casey. We do not have great taco stands in Milwaukee, but they're good. We got one that's 3 blocks. My brother goes to the one. Did you go to the taco stand we had here in Milwaukee, in Butler?
I went with Ike, I believe.
Yeah, it's one.
No, it was Ike. It was, I think, we went to.
It's 4 blocks. We have a taco. So we have a taco truck 4 blocks from our shop.
Yeah, like
they're
4
good
tacos.
Was that $4? Yeah, they're like $4. Yeah, they're good, but they're not California taco stand good. Yes, also oysters. Some of the best oysters I've ever had in my life. They're delicious. Like I should have got a dozen. Some of the best oysters I ever had in my life were at a taco stand in Stockton, outside of Stockton, California, which is outside of Sacramento. They were cheap. They were like $1 or $1.50 oysters. So good. I remember what's that?
Obviously, we're still alive to tell the tale. So you can get so from a food truck, and it's okay.
Well, wait. Talk about relationships. I however many meals I've had in my life, I just talked about like 3 or 4 of them in one of the shittiest work weeks right? That when we do that project in California, that sucked. There's no way else to describe it, but it goes back to the old adage, right? No good story starts with eating a salad. And same in business and in relationships. When a job goes right and smooth, it's not a fucking story to tell.
No.
And same with relationships. One of the things I've also noticed is there are people that I didn't like at first or didn't like me at first or whatever. And then over time, you're like, all right, I can work with this person.
Yeah.
Right? Dale Carnegie talks about it. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. I can only control 2 of the 3 of those things.
Yeah.
You can know me and you're going to trust me. Whether or not you like me, that's subjective. If people don't like me, my girlfriend tells me this all the time. She's like, there's a lot of people that don't like you. I was like, that's a them problem because I'm sweet. Right?
Yep.
And you know what? 50% of people aren't going to like you. I talk about the networking event. You walk in, 50% of them, they're not going to get it. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it every time. I'm coaching this. I'm coaching.
I'm okay with that.
I do a little coaching. I'm coaching this customer, and she asked me. She's an educator, and she does online classes. And she goes, "What if the principal doesn't get back to me?" I go, "Then find another one. You have one target on your board right now." And then she's like, "Well, what if I'm not good at sales and meeting new people?" She goes, "How do you get good at it?" I said, "You do it. You got to get the paces in. You got to go to the networking events. You got to get lunch. You got to go to coffee." I can hear myself. No, I can hear you back. What's that, Taylor?
It's like cut out.
What cut out? I cut out?
Like right near the end.
Was I telling some sweet shit?
Yeah.
Taylor just came in here and told me it's not like cut out. Is that
The internet.
Is that going to be back in post, or is that going to fill in, or is that going to be dead space there? So this is how high speed we do things. I'll blame you. All right, on internet at my building. Apparently, I got Casey's internet in my building. It cuts out.
Well,
I'm just saying
the turntables have turned.
Oh, the turntables have turned. All right, well, I'll go back on my rant, which what I was saying is you got to put the paces in. You know, she asked, she goes, "How'd you get so good at sales?" I said, "I did it. I went out, I pounded the pavement. I've had doors slammed in my face. I'll leave it. One of my favorite stories when I first started junk removal. We're like a month in. We got jobs right now. I'm like, I got to fill the pipeline. My brother was banging the jobs, and we had one employee. I went out and went to 13 senior living facilities in one day, and I went 0 for 13. And what I meant by that was for me to say I got something accomplished was I either had a meeting with the key decision maker, I got one of our pamphlets in their welcome packets. I went 0 for 13. I went back to my brother. You know, it's like 90 degrees out. He humped it out all day, did like $1,000 worth of jobs. And I'm like, I didn't hold up my end of the bargain today as the other business owner, right? I went 0 for 13. And he's like, go back and do it tomorrow. And I was so defeated. I was gonna say depressed. I wasn't depressed because I was like excited, right? But I was so defeated, and I felt like I let him and the rest of the company down because I was just driving around walking into buildings all day. Well, they were banging jobs. So the next day I go out, I had 10 on my list. I go 9 for 10, right? So I went from an 0 for day to 9 for 10. So at the end of the day, I went 9 for 23. Which that's about 50%, right? I'm batting 40% at that. I'm okay with 40%, right? And I had a great day. And the thing is, when it comes to relationships, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to get it. And you're not always going to catch people at the right time, in the right space, in the right place. You got to go out there and put the work in. I hate it when I hear, especially when we're in the franchise world, right? The franchisor was like, go join the Chamber of Commerce and go to networking events. It's like, guys would go to 3 fucking networking events. Their phone wouldn't ring once, and they're like, all right, I give up. I'm done. It's like, well, that's not how this works. Yeah. You got to be a steward to the business community. You got to go out to those ribbon cuttings. Ribbon cuttings are the best thing because chambers love it when you go to ribbon cuttings.
And there's free food.
Dude, free food. It's in the middle of the day, and they got snacks. It's like sub sandwiches or tacos.
The best thing you can do for
a charcuterie board.
The best thing you can do for your business is to support your fellow businesses around you.
You got to give first before you get. The businesses that I see were successful day one were the ones that weren't desperate.
Yes.
They went out, right? Now, you could be desperate at home. You could be scared shitless in your head. But when you walk up to networking events and you're like, oh, yeah, this is my first week in business. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to learn from you people and learn about your businesses and contribute to your businesses. You're like, wow, breath of fresh air versus, hey, I'm a new sales guy and I got to close some deals this week. Otherwise, I don't have a job. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Now, and that's what I remember. I remember BNI's. BNI's felt that way. They're like, how many referrals do you have this week? And I'm like, none. They're like, I don't know if you're going to get chicken tendies this week. Like, I'm getting my chicken tendies.
Oh, man.
Don't let me remind you about my chicken tendies. Chicken tendies. That was from, I always like to give credit to people where I learn things. So Paul Chalawa from Johnstone Supply, he owns 4 locations. It's a cooperative of heating and cooling. Anyways, this guy's like done very well, cool guy. And it's like 7th generation entrepreneur. Just his family does what his first generation immigrant here in the United States from India. Hard working family. My dad knew his dad because, of course, my dad went and bought plumbing supplies from his dad for years and didn't realize that till later. Anyways, we're catching a beer one night at this Irish bar because, again, we're in a CEO roundtable and we still, again, those relationships up here. We went out and still got a beer, right? We called each other up and invested some time. Anyways, we get there. He's like, oh, let's just do some apps. He goes, let's give some chicken tendies. So now, you know what? Like, again, when you go to a bar, going back to Spitfires on State Street in Milwaukee, shameless plug, best wings in Milwaukee, right? When you go to a bar and you order chicken as a man, as a grown-ass man, you got 3 choices, right? You either get chicken tendies, you either get chicken nuggets like Casey Bubba Lawrence,
Yes,
or you man up and you get some chicken wings. That's it. Those are your 3 choices. None of this boneless, skinless crap, right? And
Dude.
real men will get the chicken wings, the regular ass wings, the way that God intended them to be.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're whether you get grilled or fried, a dry rub or what do you call it? Wet or dry, right? I don't care if you go naked and dip them.
Yeah.
That's what men do. I go naked and dip them. I want to regulate my sauce. Except for Spitfires. Spitfires knows how to put the sauce on because they fry them, sauce them, grill them, and they fucking bake that sauce on, and they're delicious. So there you go. We learned about relationships. We learned about chicken wings. It's been an episode.
Yeah, man.
We got off the beaten path as one does.
That's how it happens. Next week I'll be in Florida, so I'm excited.
Dude, you're in Florida every next week. Actually, speaking of next week, we'll plug our. Look at us doing show notes. I can plug the show next week because I'm not going to just randomly ask you what we're talking about. So, episode 24, Brandon Fong will be joining us. Brandon is a gentleman that I know from here in Milwaukee. His parents are from the Milwaukee area. I'm going to pull up his quick bio if my internet works on LinkedIn. Of course, it doesn't want to work. Brandon Fong, he has a podcast where he interviews like the top people in their industries. So that's it. So he is known as a husband, world traveler, creator of the Magic Connection Method, which is what we're going to be talking about, Magic Connection Method, and he host of the Top 2% Globally Ranked 7-Figure Millennials podcast. So him and I were both on the same TV show. We both pitched to this TV show called Project Pitch It, aptly named, which is like a local Shark Tank. So we both did that. I know his parents, there we go, financial advisors with Prime America, just shameless plug for them, Rick and Stephanie Fong, right, talking about relationships. Anyways, he has an amazing podcast. He has this great program, which is the Magic Connection Method. So if you learn something today from relationships, today was like 101 relationships. Go to a networking event, meet people, don't be transactional. When we talk next week with Brandon Fong, it is like the master's PhD level of relationship building.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my challenge to everybody there that's listening to this episode right now. Listen, go out and practice, and then before you watch the next episode, get ready to get your mind blown when it comes to how to build the tier 1 relationships, the long-term, sustainable, we got your back type of people. So there you go. There's the plug for next week's episode. And as always, we love feedback, right? It's not constructive criticism. It's nothing else. It is neutral. It is feedback. We love hearing from you guys. Emails, phone calls, text messages. I don't give a shit. Comments on Facebook, LinkedIn. Challenge us. If you don't think we're right, let's have a conversation. The goal here is to grow together, and we don't grow by just sitting here and assuming we know everything, or only go based off of our experience. There's a wealth of knowledge in this world, and we want you all to contribute to what we're doing here on the Trash Talk Business Podcast. Casey, any final words to put a button on this thing?
Yeah, final word is
put a bow on it. Put a bow on it.
Put a bow on this. Yeah. So the final word is, when you're asking, how do I find these tiers, right? You have to get out and you have to find them, and you'll know when you find them.
You'll figure it out. Yeah.
Will. But I'll tell you a quick little cheat method. The tier ones are on LinkedIn.
Yep.
I'll say that right now. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
How you talk to them is up to you, but the tier ones, they are on LinkedIn. I'm not saying they're not anywhere else, but they are on LinkedIn. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing the tier ones.
There you go. There you go. Shameless plug for LinkedIn. We had a lot of plugs here today, and that's a beautiful thing, because often in business is people selling you and convincing you need something. Yeah. But as practitioners, Casey and I are practitioners, right? As practitioners, we're giving the answers to the test. These are things that actually matter. These are the things that move the needle. These are the people in programs, or in LinkedIn's case, social media, where we spend our time and our energy and our money, mm-hmm. or time, effort, and money rather, so that we build a successful business. Last shout out: time, effort, money. That was which time, effort, money. All three are energy. That was Michael Creed with Illuminate Home Loans, who is a financial partner for one of my other businesses, Young Guns. I'm going to give him a shout. If you need to know anything about home loans or buying or selling loans, I've met hundreds of people in that space. He's the best guy, and he taught me that method of time, money, and effort. It all equals energy. So final shout out, little gratitude for all the people that have supported me through the years and got us to where we're at today. This has been another episode of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. Appreciate having you. Love to hear from you. On behalf of Casey Bubba Lawrence and the great state of Texas, I'm Andy Weins. We'll see you next week.